Welcome to another Waratahs lockdown racing. We're about one lap into a 2-lap course of the Watopia TikTok, and the B grade bunch has already seen a fair amount of action on the first lap, with a group of about 22 riders breaking clear of the main bunch of about 49 riders that started, of which only there were a couple of riders who didn't make the start bunch, and so got dropped almost immediately. But this lead group here is pretty fast on the climb, and have managed to get a decent break on the chasing groups.
I'm sitting in Group 2, Doctor, on the road, and I think I'm about 50 seconds behind, and there is no pace in here. I think everyone is absolutely rooted from Thursday night, Friday morning, so there's no pressure coming from behind, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I'm doing a bit of a recording, so we've got several riders on the line, of which we should manage to hear their comments through the recording.
Oh, nice.
So
you're a minute behind us.
Yeah, I'm doing 2 what? 2 kilo.
I think we've got Matty Hooker and Nick Jonesy on, but who are both still in the lead group, which are averaging quite a pace. You know, they're up around the 48 kilometres an hour on the Watopia Desert Flat, Fugro Flat section of the course. And there have been a little bit of action in the second lap already. We've seen a couple of the riders try their hand at a little bit of a breakaway. There was Robbie Hacker and Tom Clayton at one point, who'd got 1 or 1.5 seconds on the lead group, and then had been pulled back.
You got Andy O'Reilly up there, marking any moves. He finished second at Sugar and Spice on Friday, after being in the yellow beacon.
Yeah, and at the moment we've got Nick Jonesy, who's broken away, and he's got a second or 2 on the main bunch, and they're chasing pretty furiously. So
Not stretching the legs.
we'll see how far he can stay out there, but he's definitely enticing.
No, just stretching the legs.
No, he's already been swept up. So a brave effort off the front, and that's the kind of action we like to see in the WMZ racing.
Some call it stretching the legs, some call it asking the question.
No, my legs are cooked from yesterday's race.
Anyway, we've got
Goes to show you how hard Sugar and Spice was on Friday, because Jason Tran, who tipped Andy O on the line, has gone out the back today. But Andy O, showing his endurance, is still up there with the lead bunch, I believe, Doctor.
Yeah, we've got a few riders we recognise. There's Robbie Hacker in the lead group, Andy O'Reilly, Eddie Younger, Nathan Putnam, Matt Hooker, Nick Jonesy.
That's a proper attack. Who's that?
It's good to see that Nathan Putman's coming back with a vengeance. He really put in yesterday.
Eddie Younger's the young up-and-coming rider to watch for the future.
I think he's got a big future over the next 10 years. He could actually get from a house to a home.
But Eddie Younger's got the advantage of having very low weight, so he excels when the road goes up in Zwiftland.
The strongest 70-year-old I know. They can finish 3 peaks in under 13 hours.
And he's fortunate enough to be in the draft of these heavier, stronger, faster riders, so he's able to sit in at a very high watts per kilo intensity because of that low weight of his.
Lucky him.
You're on the way down, Robbie, so you won't be long before you're a featherweight.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Nah, mate. What do you weigh now, Rob? 73.
How much?
73.
73?
Yeah.
I wish.
Who are you? Who's that?
Nick.
Is that Matt? Nick?
Nick. Still 75. Nick Johns.
Oh, right.
And so plenty of different types of bikes in the lead group today. We can see all the Tron bikes, you know, the all-rounder bike that is pretty popular with those that have done well over 50,000 vertical metres once they've registered for the Everest Challenge. A fair few Cervelo and S-Work type frames and deep dish wheels. So it's clear that the riders feel the aero is the way to go on this course. Doesn't appear to be any narrow wheels or
Lightweights or anything like that.
no. And there's plenty of folk wearing their aero helmet as well. There are some that have chosen the beret or old man's golf cap.
With a max gradient of about 4%, aero will dominate today.
Yes.
There's actually opportunity there. The speed's going up.
How,
The hill still ended draft. So
how about you, Andy Blair? What was your frame choice and wheel choice for today's race?
mate, I'm sticking with the all-rounder, the pink Tron. It's a bit
Nice.
hard to go past. It takes all the guesswork out of whether you're going to go with a deep dish or a lightweight frame. On a course that is relatively flat with a small incline, a bit hard to go past.
Yeah, that's terrific. And there's still a fair few Bumblebee jerseys in the lead group, maybe about 6. But
I forgot to change my jersey.
there's a number of international riders that have blown in for today's race, and they were lighting it up the first ascent of a little climb, the foothills of the KOM climb.
Hope they checked in with their QR code.
Yeah, they can make sure they can carry their sanitizer in a water bottle.
We're only a couple of kilometres away from that next hill, so let's see if who's going to hit it up. Will the bunch stay together?
Yeah, or it could be one of the locals who fancies his chances. Like, we've still got quite a way to go. There's another 10 kilometres or so to race.
A long way to the race, long to finish.
It's a long way to try and hold a gap, because you won't get a big gap up over this hill on this lead group. They all made it up over the climb pretty comfortably in the lead group. The splits really occurred in the back half of the group, and there were a number of splits in the original bunch.
So if this climb, although it's only relatively shallow in gradient, was another 3 or 4 kilometres longer, then you would have been able to open up a decent gap that you might have been able to hold down to the end. But short climb, easy gradient,
and over the last couple of weeks, we haven't seen a lot of race action on the other minor climb of the course, which is coming out of the sea tunnel section as it just prior to turning right back into the desert, the Fugro Flats desert area. So that slight incline coming out of the underwater sea tunnel is another opportunity for those that really can't hold down the big watts into the sprint finish.
And there's a couple of big hitters in there from WMZ. You've got Matt Hooker, he can pump out some orange numbers. You've got Jeff Morton, mate, he can push triple figures. He can push 4 figures in wattage. So they don't really need to go and bust themselves up the climb. If they're anywhere within chewy distance of about 500 to go, they're going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't seen Jeff Morton's name on the leaderboard.
Right on my wheel.
Is he? So Jeff Morton's still in there. He's been
conserving.
Yeah, he's been very coy. I think he's one of those that monitors their efforts very carefully. Careful not to be promoted into the next grade, but just enough to stay in the bunch and then be there at the end. Whereas Andy Blair was just saying that he can put out a lot of watts in the finishing sprint.
When you see him dropping over 1,000 watts after a 40k race, it's been flat out. The guy has got some stamina.
An attack.
Yeah, there is a bit of an attack. Yeah, just at the base of the climb.
That's where Eddie should need to go. He needs to really put him in the hurt locker.
And
Use his weight advantage.
Jeff Morton is one of the international riders at JE PTX, and Tom Clayton and Jeff Morton have gone on the chase after him. So they're going to stretch the whole bunch out by just trying to bridge up to this international rider. That's dedication for you, not wanting an international rider to take the spoils today, looking to bring the bunch back. But it's really stretching out now on this second ascent of the climb. The first would have hurt the legs for the majority, and now those that are at the back, and we can start to see a few little gaps open, you know, a couple of bike lengths here and there, so there may be another split in this lead group over this 400 metre 3% average climb up.
There's a fantastic representation from WMZ Day. Of the 49 riders in B grade, I counted 19 from Waratahs on the start line.
Yeah, that's terrific. All chasing that elusive $25 bike bug voucher for third place today. They've got it in the back of their minds.
Yep.
They still know about that.
Not only will they knock themselves out trying to beat each other, but they will target their placing to perfection in order to win that bike bug voucher.
You might even just get a tube of lube. Excluding postage.
Well, no, Bike Bug's got an offer at the moment of free delivery on all orders. So even a $25 order comes to you without the cost of postage. And they're all back together again. That little attack off the front didn't eventuate, didn't result in a breakaway. There has been a dropped rider, so the bunch has now thinned out a bit. And that's it's a Southern Cross rider, L. Taylor, who's just he's blown a gasket by the looks of it, and he's now off the back of the lead group. Having a look now at Matty Hooker, and he looks very comfortable in the bunch. You know, he's sitting in the middle, conserving his energy, moving up towards the front perhaps, just allowing the wheels to come around as they turn the right hand corner off the little bridge and dirt section and back towards this underwater road section or tunnel. Steve Mulligan is another one who's done very well in these Waratah lockdown races in the past. I think he was on the podium last week, or he may have picked up the bike bug voucher last week for fourth place.
And you could double down with $50.
Yeah.
Save up to buy a new chain.
Nathan Putnam is in the lead group again in B grade. He did very well in a minor race held yesterday amongst mates. He was able to take victory in 2 laps of the Innsbrucking circuit, maybe in preparation for the WTRL racing series that's on in a couple of days' time. Everyone appears to be looking at each other. There's no great accelerations here. Sitting on 43, 45 kilometres an hour. Those that are in the bunch are managing to average 2.8 to 3 watts a kilo. Those on the front are edging up to sort of 4.5 watts a kilo.
What's the parcours of the course looking like, Doctor?
Well, it's very flat at the moment because they're all in this underwater tunnel section. You know, they're not looking at the scenery. not interested in the whales or the dolphins that are swimming around. They're focused on the prize ahead. They're not far from this little pinch.
There could be a little attack coming out of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Look, dolphins.
Is that a crack in the glass?
Yeah. I see water coming in.
Here's another one of the Waratahs, Eddie Younger. He's moved off the back. No? Yeah, looks. No, Eddie Younger had got dropped. He was one of those riders that missed out on the front group. We're back with Andy O'Reilly.
Andy O'Reilly's not giving me any gas today.
Who's pumping out 3 to 4 watts a kilo as they approach.
Mate, you don't even sound like you're having an effort, mate.
Can't be too far to go. About 3 k's to go with the doctor.
Well,
4.6.
there's about 4 kilometres to go. Here they've just hit this small little rise coming out of this underwater tunnel, and it's not stretching out. There is a couple of riders who are just turning it on a bit. 6.8, 7 watts a kilo. That'll hurt the legs of those that have struggled over the last couple of climbs out of the Watopia Desert Flats. And there is a dropped rider, so things are starting to hurt very badly. That's a JJ rider. I'm not sure who JJ stands for. Some of the Zwift names can be a little bit difficult to understand, just like the Ausdirt doctor.
Yeah. I'm going to say sitting here in group 2 for about a minute and 5 seconds down on the group ahead, and about 2 minutes to P3 on the road.
Okay, so we've got about 3 kilometres left to the finish, 3.2 kilometres, and we've got a bunch of about 20 who all seem quite intent in making a bun finish. That be said, we've seen races split up even at this point where a strong rider goes off the front and tries to hold a small gap to the finish. That's a possibility today, or it could be a 2 or 3 rider breakaway. It doesn't take much. Given Zwift gives you that gap in seconds to the group, and also the intensity that the chasing group is doing. You can target your effort just to maintain that gap by matching or just slightly increasing your effort to those that are chasing.
So we're just going under the 3 kilometres. Bit of a calm before the storm moment.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a bit of a calm. The intensity's dropped slightly in the lead group, and those on the front are only sort of pushing 4 watts a kilo, or 3.5.
Only 4.
For example, Andy O'Reilly He's sitting on 3.5 watts a kilo and his second wheel.
You can do that all day.
Yeah, he'll just lap that up. So some of these rulers really need to try their hand in the next 2 or 3 kilometres to try and put these sprinters under pressure, because this is just playing.
2 kilometres to go.
It's playing straight into the sprinters' hands. The sprinters will be licking their lips at the moment. The Matty Hookers of the world, the Jeff Mortons. There's a lot of movement. The riders are jostling about quite a lot. Perhaps looking for that wheel, or perhaps just wanting to conserve energy. There's a few of the riders now that are sort of getting up to the sort of 8 watts a kilo. There is an attack, and Nick Jonesy has really put on a bit of a spurt, followed by Jeff Morton and Tom Clayton. These guys are stretching the bunch out now as they approach the large turnaround area for the Fugro Flats course, and they're only probably 1 kilometre away from the finish.
I think Tom Clayton's got eyes on that bike by about
The bunch has sort of split now. There's a few riders off the back, but there's still probably 8 or 10 that have re-merged into a bunch. Very exciting. Again, Jeff Morton's put in a bit of an attack, an 8 watt a kilo. So there are riders who are definitely looking to ask the question of the sprinters, trying to thin this group out as they approach the start of the sprint segment. I think that's a 500 metre segment to the finish. This is where all the action will be. Definitely Jeff Morton's up there, Tom Clayton, Andy O'Reilly, Steve Mulligan, as they are hurtling to the line. They're over 55 kilometres an hour.
Wow.
Dropping feathers. We can see red numbers going crazy. Robbie Hacker looks like he might have taken that for the Waratahs, but we'll have to have a look at the Zwift Power results as the rest of them come in across the line. That was an exciting finish with a few of the international blow-in riders lighting up the race.